Hey there, my name is Pravus and welcome to the land of the Vikings. This is a brand new colony simulator that is entering into early access today as of November 8th. And it is themed around, you guessed it, Vikings. The game is developed by Lapse Games and published by Iceberg Interactive, who by the way are sponsoring this video and got me early access to the game. A big thank you to them for that, and if you guys like what you see and you'd like to learn more, there will be a link in the description down below. The premise of the game is pretty straightforward. We're going to be settling a new colony for our Vikings. We need to build out their homes, extract resources, survive the elements, launch ships, and maybe even fight off a couple of outside threats. We will see. Let's go ahead and start up a new game. Now, of course, we do get to change up the name of our village, so I'm going to call this one Pravus. I think that sounds pretty good. As far as our banner, let's say there's a few different options here. Let's say we'll go for something simple, kind of like that. We can choose our map. There are a few different to choose from. Kind of like the look of some of these. You get a bit of a preview. It's kind of cool, right? I like the look of this valley. That seems nice. Let's turn off the tutorial and let's get started. And here we are. All right, we start off with a longhouse, 3 small houses, and a carpenter with which we can take some logs and turn that into timber planks. That'll be helpful. And then a whole lot of space that we can expand. You gotta admit, it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I certainly think it does. All right, so there's a few things we're looking at here. First off, down here in the bottom, we've got some commands. I would like to chop down some trees. So I'm going to simply select this button and then just highlight a bunch of trees that I want to chop down. And I'm going to need a lot of timber, so I'm happy to chop down plenty of these things. Good thing about trees, though, as long as you do not place any buildings next to where their stumps are located, eventually the trees will regrow. So you don't have to worry about planting a bunch of trees, they'll regrow on their own. I also would like to select some stones for digging out, so we'll go ahead and pick out a few of these, because up here in the top left, you can see we've got wood, timber, and stone as some primary resources. Eventually, we'll be able to get some dressed stone as well. Now, down over in the bottom left, I've actually got a few different things going for me. Let's take a look at the management to start. So we can take a look at the individual resources that are in our town. Most of these we do not have access to, at least yet. We also have a jobs board where I can assign people to go and work in different jobs. But here's something fun that's kind of unique about this game. Not all Vikings are created equal, and not everyone is suited for a particular task. So let's click on this. I'm going to go to my carpenter, and we could just assign 2 people to go and work over here, right? That's a thing we could do. Or I could click on this and manually select a worker. Every worker has 4 different stats. There's, I think it's luck, intelligence, power, and swift, fleetness, something along those lines, right? In this case, the carpenter benefits from having the power talent. So we can sort by some powerful people, try to find someone who's really good at, let's say, the power, but maybe not so good at anything else, so I want them to be in this particular job. This character doesn't seem too bad, and then, I don't know, how about you? You seem okay. And these 2 people will now be my carpenters, turning the resources into timber. Beautiful. There are a lot of things we can build in the game. Of course, we do have some housing and some doctoring and some totems for religious icons like Odin and Thor and Tyr, etc., all located under this life tab. Then we have some storages, some food production, regular production and industry, some seafaring, military, and finally some decorations. For now, I feel like we need a couple of different things. We want to get, let's say, a marketplace up and running. So we can place this down over here, and if I hold down the Z key, we can actually rotate this. So I'll place it, let's say, somewhere over in this general vicinity. Okay, so we'll get that going for us. And I also want to get some food production. How about a gatherer's hut? Now, again, not all places are equal. We're going to place this in an area where the productivity is relatively high, and there are already some plants that are placed down for us to harvest. So let's say right over here seems actually pretty solid. I can rotate that again around kind of like this here. Perfect. We'll go ahead and get that placed. And let's go over to our jobs board and assign at least a couple of people to be builders. The laborers are going to go around and chop down all the trees and get me some stone and stuff. That's all going to be very helpful for us. There are a few other menus right now. We don't have access to ships and stuff yet, though, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. We'll come back a little bit later. We're also going to take a look at the Tech Tree of Life, Yggdrasil, over here. We can spend some of our points in order to gain some free technologies. So maybe we want to pick up the transition to settled life, which unlocks a lot of farming. That seems like something we're going to need. I could also spend some points on digging too deep, getting the mines, stone pits, etc. This isn't too important to me yet, but it will be later. I'll go ahead and pick it up, but we have a couple points to spare. Let's go ahead and say we want villagers to work 1%, 2% faster. There we go. We'll just spend a couple of points on that. As you can see, there are a lot more checks that we will be able to unlock, which can diversify and strengthen up our village. But we'll come back to some of that. Let's go ahead and bump up to maximum speed and let these guys build some stuff out. And actually, while they're felling all of these trees over here, which is pretty cool to watch, by the way, let's set down some pathing. This takes some silver coins to place. It's fairly freeform, which I have to say is one thing I like about the aesthetic of this game so far, is it doesn't follow the grid pattern that a lot of colony simulators do. It tries instead to kind of follow a more organic approach, which I think just looks cool, so who can be upset about that? Now, what are some other things we can look at while they are gathering these resources? Up at the very top, we can see a day-night cycle, also the seasons. Unsurprisingly, as you get close to, I don't know, winter, bad things will start to happen. You're going to run out of food very, very quickly. There are a few things you're going to want for that before you get into the harsh elements. Namely, you want to have a lot of food stocked up, because all your stuff is going to die off. There's not going to be any plants to gather. There's not going to be any crops to harvest, unsurprisingly. That means you want a place to start growing all of your cattle and your goats so you can slaughter them for some last-minute meals, or you're going to want to do some hunting out there. We'll also eventually need to get some firewood, but I don't think we need that right now. We've got at least a little bit of time before that's going to be an issue. The sooner I can start producing some food and some fields and stuff, though, probably the better, and I need to get myself a cattle ranch and a goat ranch at some point. But you know what? One step at a time. Let's first just start storing a bunch of wood, tossing it into the carpenter, and make sure we get some timber. Now, one thing I kind of like about constructing new things in this game is it actually is built up into stages. So you start by bringing a lot of resources for the first stage and lay a foundation. Usually that's a lot of stone and some basic logs. Once you've done that, we now see this foundation's already placed and they're delivering a bunch of the timber. Once done, they're actually going to come over here and start building it up little piece by little piece. I don't know, there's actually a lot more thought into some of the animations to make the building construction look a bit more specialized and organic. Again, kind of a cool aesthetic choice. Just about done, and there we go. We now have a market up and a running. Let's go ahead and connect that to the roads just for funsies, and we can assign a worker. Usually somebody who's at least fairly speedy, though probably not too good at much else beyond that. How about this guy right here? You'll do fine. So as we start getting things like some food, we can sell it to our people and generate some silver. But I need food, and that is where this gatherer's hut is going to come into play. Again, we've laid the foundation, they're dropping off more resources, and they'll start to build this up. There you go. See? This is what I'm talking about, you know? Just these little things like this. Kind of cool. Anyway, so that's going to get built up, and someone's going to start running around and gathering up berry bushes, herbs, whatever else we're going to have in this general vicinity. So let's assign somebody who is ideally both lucky and speedy. Let's start with the luck stat. This person seems pretty good. This person's also solid and doesn't have as good in the other two stats, so I'll take you to start. And then how about, honestly, probably you. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and do that. Perfect. And once again, get this connected to some roads. Okay, how are we looking as far as our jobs? Pretty good. We still have 11 laborers to go around, so let's see what else we can build that would be very helpful for me. A storage place would not be a bad idea. Something like a warehouse, perhaps. Someone who can go around and gather up resources and bring them into one important location would make a lot of sense. I'll place it kind of close to the center of town, I think, though. So something kind of like this, maybe? Sure, we'll do that. Perfect. All right, and because we placed it close to a road, it automatically placed a path down over here. That seems solid. Beyond that, I think we probably want to start getting some fields together. Where do we want to place some of these? Maybe down over in this general area? Sure, that seems okay. Now, just like so many other things in this game, the fields are kind of free-form as far as how you place them. So we can do something kind of like this, and we can place something out kind of, let's say, up over here, and then maybe something like... no, wait, hang on, this doesn't quite work. Let's try... Building it out like this. There we go. Then up here, then like this, and there we go. Perfect. All right, now we have ourselves a field. I am going to assign a few workers to this. We are going to select a specific crop. How about some wheat? And we are going to tell them to plant that down. So once we have this wheat up and running, though, I'm also going to need some basic things like a windmill to take that wheat and start grinding it into some flour. So let's try placing a windmill down over like this direction, for example, something like this. And I also need some storage, so let's go for a wheat granary. We'll place it kind of close by. How about right here? Seems good. All right. And then we're going to start growing this stuff up. Using my workers, we'll store it, and then we'll turn it into bread. The design behind a lot of these buildings is just very pleasing to me. I've always kind of liked the Viking aesthetic over here, you know, but they do a pretty good job on this, honestly. All the houses and every building here looks pretty believable. Pretty awesome. We will need to place down some additional housing at some point. For now, we only have access to some poor houses. Some of these are cheaper than others, but generally they do consume a lot of fuel in winter because they're just not very well insulated. The best poor house we can build here is this one, but you can see it costs a lot more stone. We will eventually have our population growing, so at some point we'll need to place down a few of these. Not sure it's the absolute top priority. We'll come back to it. There's the windmill built up. That's going to be nice. Let's also place down a well somewhere, preferably kind of in the center-ish of town. An easy place to place down some water for our fields, because that's the next stage. We've sown all the seeds, but we need to water these up for them to grow. Simply getting ourselves a well, and we'll make this a priority for now, is going to let us actually start growing this stuff. Now, we do have at least one person who's already at pretty low health down here, so we need to get ourselves a doctor. An herbalist hut would help with that for sure. We could place that down. Is there anything else that we need instead? I mean, we've already got some herb gathering going on with the gatherer's hut. Yeah, I think placing down an herbalist's hut over here would make some sense. So we'll place it probably over close to the market and where that's currently located. Let's angle it a little bit just so it kind of looks cool. Something like this will do fine. All right. So we'll get this thing placed, and again, no foundation exists until we place down some wood and stone. Then it progresses to the next stage and starts using up all of my timber. Doctor's house should be going up right about now. Perfect. Now we need to assign somebody who is ideally very smart. Seems kind of important in a doctor, but now sick villagers can get healed, so we're not going to have anyone die on me. That is excellent. Okay, all looking good here. We've planned out a few more things for the base, so I've got some areas for some more housing. We're going to have a wood shed to get firewood, but we don't need that until we get closer to the end of the year. I am going to go ahead and place down a cattle ranch down over here, and probably also a goat ranch, maybe down over in this general area, something along these lines. Kind of important that we have a place to place my goats and my cows, because we're going to need them to survive the winter. Okay, the crops should be about ready for harvest now. We actually could harvest it this exact second, or I can let it get a little bit more ripe, I suppose. I don't see any downside of going ahead and harvesting this right now, so let's just go ahead and click the button. And our three farmers are going to get themselves assigned over here and start harvesting all of the fields. I'm pretty sure that while these things are, idle and growing, the farmers automatically delist themselves so they can go back into the labor pool. But there we go. Now we're getting some grain, and it's going to get dropped off over here. We want to turn that into bread, and that means we have to go over here to the windmill. Again, we need somebody with the power stats. I guess you'll do okay, sure, and maybe also you. There we go. And they're going to take that grain and just convert it directly into bread. So that's going to strengthen out my food reserves. The goats over here will be finishing up fairly soon, and I don't have a lot of spare laborers to deal with animals, but I'm hoping that just like one or two are going to end up being enough to just monitor everything. At least I hope they do. We've already got a bunch of cows and goats just kind of wandering around out over here. This is just going to help us drop them all off into one convenient location, so we can manage them, raise them, breed them, all that stuff. Yep, 2 goats are already on the way. 3, 4 goats on the way. I'm going to go ahead and start placing out a hunting hut over in this direction as well. Let's get some people assigned. We need some lucky, strong folks. You'll do, and I guess you're kind of the best I'm going to get. Perfect. We placed this over here because the game told me that this is apparently a decent-ish location. Well, now it says there's none. There were animals over here. Maybe it's because it's overlapping with what already exists. These deer and stuff, yeah, we should be able to kill them and just go ahead and get some meat and bring that back. Because we're already fairly low on the number of meals available. Like, this game ain't kidding around. Go ahead and start getting your agriculture and stuff put together ASAP, because you're gonna need it. Okay, we already have somebody who's homeless. I'm guessing a child grew up and now would like to have a place to live. All right, that's gonna happen. So let's go ahead and build out another one of these houses, ideally a more expensive but higher value poorhouse so that we can have our insulation be better during the winter. I'm hoping at some point we'll be able to upgrade some of these with better houses over here, but it's going to be a little bit. Now, you might be wondering, how are you going to get more tech points in order to unlock a lot of these other cool features? And the answer is a special mechanic up here called Fame. You need Fame in order to, I don't know, let's say complete some objectives, or you have more people joining your colony, etc. All of this is going to lead to getting some extra points. So we need to build this stuff up. Events will sometimes work to my favor on that, you know, have some immigrants come by and we just kind of welcome them in. That's a very generous thing that tends to spread goodwill across the population. But I'm kind of at the whims of that right now. I'm not too sure what else to do. We can take a look at objectives, and I can see my current objective is to get up to 40 villagers. But we're only at 23 right now with a happiness rating of 78. So, we got a little bit of a ways to go here. Well, regardless of the immigration and the fame system, we are going to have our families naturally pairing off and starting their own families. So, there are quite a few children over here, for example. So just like with a lot of these other colony simulators, go ahead and start building out some housing and encourage people to move out and start setting up their own families. You won't regret it. Well, I mean, unless you build out too fast and you don't have enough food, and then you don't have enough food to go around for the mouths to feed, then you might regret it a little bit, but we're going to try to avoid that. Now we're getting some objectives. Here we go. Prepare for winter. We're halfway through autumn. That means it's on the way. Let's go ahead and enable this woodshed as soon as we are done building out another one of these houses. In fact, you know what? While you guys are delivering all of this, let's just go ahead and turn this on. We're gonna need it. It's necessary in order to take some of my lumber, turn it into firewood. I'm pretty sure winter is the only time of the year you need firewood, which is why I've been able to delay this so far. Could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. Again, I like just seeing how everything's actually getting built up in an intelligent way over here. That's pretty awesome. But there we go. Now we have that. There are no workers over here. Well, that's because it's not winter, so we don't need any. But let's go ahead and get this hooked up to a path like so. And you'll notice we got like 100 fame for completing that objective, which translates into another point over here. Awesome. Let's see. Ooh, shipyards. Yeah, we would need to have 4 more points to pick this up. So we need a lot more fame before we're going to be able to do anything over there. You can see that the snow is starting to fall. Winter is just around the corner, and it's going to be a little bit unpleasant for all of us. So if you had any crops that were unharvested at this point, they are going to die. So it's kind of your last chance to go ahead and harvest them up. But we're looking okay on food. We're up to 25 meals here. We should have enough wood to go around and actually start taking care of our needs. In fact, 2 people have automatically assigned themselves over here to start getting us some firewood. That's great. I've also been very careful to make sure we are breeding our cattle as early as possible. We're up to 6 of these things now. And we're up to 9 goats instead of the 4 we started with. That's great, though, because aside from the random byproducts we'll get from these guys, and actually goats give you wool, so you don't want to kill them if you don't have to, but with the cattle and such in particular, if we find ourselves running low on any meals, all we have to do is just slaughter a few of these things, and presto, you've got some extra food. So you can think of an animal as kind of like a food battery for when winter hits and there's nothing else to gather up off the ground. Kind of a gross oversimplification, I admit, but, I mean, I don't know, if it works, it works. Gotta get some housing up and running soon, for real, though. We've got like 3 people that are homeless right now. Getting an extra house over here helps a little bit. Yeah, all the childrens are growing up, and they're like, I want to move out of Mom and Dad's house, to which I say, why? Rent is free, it's great. But no, they want their own homes? Fine, we'll build them for them. Now, the thing that's tricky about winters is they're pretty long, and you can see we've already run down to 5 meals. That did not take long. Yeah, that is a thing. I'm assuming that the hunting hut can still translate into a fair bit of food, but it looks like some of the animals might have kind of run off. No, never mind. I saw a deer disappear over here, so I'm pretty sure that counts as something we managed to grab. There's a couple more over here. Yeah, as long as I keep wandering into this area, we'll continue getting some food, so that's going to supplement me pretty nicely. If I ever see myself go down to 0, that is my cue to go ahead and start slaughtering a few excess animals. Oh, we just got a little pop-up over here in the top left. Every once in a while, you're going to get a heads up that something is on its way. In this case, we've got some newcomers coming over here. Okay. So, we can select this now and say, hey, you are welcome to join. There are going to be a handful of families. If we do not allow them, we are going to lose some fame. But if we do let them join in, then that gets us some more fame we can spend on tech points. However, it could lead to some other events, and of course, you better have some extra housing and food ready to go around. Which at the moment, I don't, so that's a bit scary, but I'm going to try it anyway. Let's go ahead and allow them to join in. I'm going to go ahead and slaughter a couple of goats, since we've got kind of a lot of them at the moment. So that should be fine, and then as far as some cattle, let's go ahead and slaughter one of these. And just get myself a little bit of extra food so we can preempt this before it becomes a problem. Looks like we do have one of those follow-on events, unfortunately. Björn's dagger has disappeared, and no one else has a similar one. Okay. One of the newly arrived people apparently stole the dagger. Alrighty, we could investigate the theft, but it costs me silver I don't have. We can blame the Soon family and kick them out. We lose some fame, but the villagers are happy. We can blame and execute Soon. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. Or do not mess with it. Really wish I had a little bit more silver because that would have been fine. Tell you what, we're going to go ahead and blame them and kick them out. It's unfortunate to lose some fame. It's unfortunate to lose some population, but oh well, our happiness was looking kind of bad to begin with, so it's okay. One more reason to always have a few coins on hand, though, am I right? The winters out here are long and unpleasant. Unsurprising for the Vikings of Scandinavia, of course. But yeah, we're out of food again. Slaughter a couple more goats, slaughter another cow. We'll be alright. Just a little bit longer and we will finally be out of this. I do want to reiterate, by the way, that this game is still very much in early access. So if some things change from what you are seeing right now, don't be surprised. That can certainly happen. The game has a fair bit of work that is being done to it still. But, gotta admit, it's a pretty darn pleasing game. I mean, look at this. Within 1 year, we built out all this area over here, and it looks pretty awesome. It's just unfortunate the Soon family are a bunch of thieves, so my population dropped back down. Ah, look at all the melting snow here, too. It's so patchy, just like real snow. That's the thing. It's like, there's a lot of aesthetic choices in this game that I very much applaud. I like it. It feels good. It really does. Looks like we have another event, more newcomers. Well, this time I have some silver, but who knows what kind of event might come out of this. Yes, they're allowed to join, get me some of that fame, get me some more people I can put to work. That would be great, because I actually am planting down a second round of barley over here. I'd like to harvest up some of this grain before it goes bad, if possible. I don't know if barley always grows faster than wheat or not, but I'm pretty sure the primary use of barley is to turn it into some beer. You just get some water, you get some barley together, and boom! You guys have some beer going around. That's going to make people pretty darn happy. So yeah, let's go ahead and assign some of the new folks. We've got a few extra laborers sitting around. Maybe we try opening up a new set of production. The stone cutter. This seems kind of important. We'll try placing it off in this general vicinity, leaving a little bit of room for another road like so, and close to my stone storage. And speaking of storage, we're actually getting filled out over here. One thing you can do with a warehouse is you can place down some decorations like barrels over in this direction. And as long as they're in the radius of the building in question, they actually do boost up some of its storage capacity. Also, I don't see it here right now because we've already solved the issue, but similar things exist for placing down fire pits or torches and stuff. If you don't have a super dark village, people tend to be a little bit happier, so that's a thing to do. So decorations actually have a use, which is kind of awesome. So with the stone cutter, looks like we can turn this on and we can start producing some of the dressed stone. Let's say we only want a limit of 60 for now, just to be safe. I don't want to overuse all my stone. We need someone who is big and burly and stronka. You will do just fine. Aha! Okay, we finished an objective. We have increased the village population. Yes! Alright, we have new objectives. 80 villagers! That's a lot of villagers. Let's go to that tree of life, and we're going to go ahead and unlock the next thing here, the shipyard, which means we can now start constructing ships. Now, eventually we can also unlock things like a tailor and a blacksmith, and I actually very much would like to have these, but it's going to be a little while before I have enough fame to make that work. Maybe if I hadn't boosted up my citizens and made them more productive, you know, saved some of the points, that could have worked. Anyways, so 80 pop is going to take a while, but Now we can get over to the sea, and I can place down a shipyard along the coasts. Sounds like fun. Let's place one over here. I am also placing down a little chicken coop over here. The chickens are still migrating, but apparently we had 7 of them. I didn't even know we had any. So, yeah, that was some food that was just not being used. Oh, whoopsies. There they go. First of 2 chickens have arrived. Beautimous. All right, so they're all wandering it back in, but we're doing great on food now. 120. That is plenty. Not to mention, if we take a look at our resources, I've got a load of leather, loads of wool. I'm producing a fair bit of beer to make people happier. We're now sitting at 80. That's not bad. I've got some of that dressed stone I was looking for, so if we want to start upgrading to some new buildings, once I get the tech, that will be an option for us. So the only thing I'm lacking at this point, really, is getting a lot of fame, and for that, I just need some events or something. Now, there are a couple of other buildings that I'm not making use of, mostly because it's not necessary nor practical at the moment. So, for example, there is a stone pit. We can actually see some of the green arrows over here telling me that there are places we can place this, but I also see one out over here in the distance. There are a few hot spots on the map where if I place this kind of like so, looks like a roller coaster, we'd be able to start extracting a load of stone and sending that back. That's great. There's also a mine under here. There it is. And we only have a couple locations on this particular map. One really far away out over there. And then we have this wall right here. I could place a mine and we'd be able to start extracting either some, what is it, coal or iron out of the wall. Now, I haven't had a use for iron yet, but apparently that's something I would be able to use. All right, you're welcome aboard. We get some fame. Nice. I'm not sure how much fame we're going to get. Takes a second to recalculate. How are we doing on the shipyard? It's on the way. Wow, that takes a lot of timber. Like a lot of timber in order to build. Jeezums. And there's the inevitable problem. Why do all these people have trouble integrating into my culture? Come on, just work with me here. All right, let's see. The newcomers are setting up tents. Well, yeah, and that's partly because I haven't given them any houses, which admittedly is a problem. So, okay, I will promise you a new home. I'm actually building 2 new houses, so that starts up a new objective. We got 3 days to complete it. Build 2. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm working on. And this should just about do it. There we go. 2 houses built up. That completes an objective. No problems at all. Objective ended. Looks like it didn't get me much fame. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit of fame, but overall not that much. We're actually looking at 50 population. I need even more homes now. Ay, ay, ay. All right, y'all just keep having them babies. This is good. This is how I become famous. We become famous for extreme fertility in Pravus. Ba-boom! We have a shipyard, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and with that shipyard, what on earth are we gonna do about it? Well, first off, let's just go ahead and make some nice little pathing just so it looks good. Beyond that, though, it's a great question. We can build ships. I know that's a thing. So let's start by assigning at least a couple of intelligent and swift workers. That's generally going to be good. Then under, let's see, build a ship. Aha! Fishing boats? We haven't discovered the way of getting long ships yet, though. But eventually, we would be able to build these. So I think you guys can guess what these would be for. For now, how about a simple fishing boat? It would take some timber, but that's okay. Now, we don't have a lot of use for a fishing boat this exact second because I also need to build a fishing hut down over this way, which, you know, no problem. I'm happy to build one of those. Hey, look, they're building the ship. You can actually see them putting it together piece by piece, just like you could the buildings. Oh, again, I know I keep geeking out over it, but in a world where there's a lot of colony builders out there that just kind of have the generic animation, it's really refreshing to see someone actually try to make something look good. Ah, spring is here again. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and start planting down a bunch of stuff. Let's just get some extra wheat going, I guess. I don't really care. We're going to have some extra farms going. I need to get a couple of gatherers, and my population is still looking pretty good, able to handle quite a lot of stuff. Before I end up this video, oh, there's spring is coming, letting me know. Yep, that is surely the case. I want to get a fishing hut up and running, only because I feel like it'd be kind of cool to actually go venturing out onto the water a little bit, you know? I want to see what it looks like, dang it. Okay, so one of them goes to the pier and starts fishing over here. The other one, off he goes, all on his own, into the fjord. Oh, that looks cool. Check that out, guys. Well, on that note, I think this is a good place for us to end this. I'm just looking for a little bit more population, a little bit more fame, and we would be able to get ourselves the Eternal Hammerer and Weaver, unlocking the Blacksmith and the Tailor, which is great since I have plenty of leather and cloth. Iron, not so much, and I imagine we would want to get some iron tools and swords and shields if we feel like we're going to be threatened. I know that other forces exist out there we might need to defend against, and I know I can go a Viking, or that is to say a raiding in longships. But that's a longer-term goal than I have in mind at the moment. But thank you all very much for watching, and thanks again to Iceberg Interactive for sponsoring this video. If you guys like what you saw, and you would like to learn more about the land of the Vikings, you can find a link in the description down below. My name is Pravus. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.